Welcome back, neighbors. I am Neighbor Nate, and it is season 1, episode 3 of the Music Festivals podcast. And I'm so damn glad that you are all here. The show is designed to help you get to know music festivals and festival venues before you go, because this is a big investment. You're spending a lot of money going to these music festivals. And so I want you to be prepared to have the most fun, to have these amazing transcendent experiences that are possible. If you're listening to only the audio of the show on your favorite podcast app, make sure to head on over to the YouTube channel for all the visuals, as well as full playlists on all the different venues. That's really the idea. Is you can go to these playlists and you can get a feel for what the venue looks like, where to camp, what to bring, how to be prepared, the fashion at these festivals, what people say, all that stuff, as well as, maybe some clips from bands and interviews with attendees and other festivals owners. You can find everything all summarized on musicfestivalspodcast.com. So check out the website. And while you're there, if you want to join the neighborhood for VIP access to the content, we're going to have everything from planning resources and checklists to camping gear reviews and recommendations to hopefully early lineups and schedules. One thing that festivals are not good at is publishing schedules in advance. And you can always get some swag and hopefully sign up for ticket giveaways while you're there. This week, we are recapping Dark Star Jubilee 2024. And that happened this past spring. What a cool festival. This was the first time that I've gotten to go to Dark Star Jubilee. It was May 26th through the 24th at Legend Valley in Ohio. That's in Thornville, Ohio. And this is Dark Star Orchestra's festival. So DSO is a very popular Grateful Dead cover band from the Chicago area. They're really an international touring act. They go all over the place. And I think what's unique about them is they really do celebrate the Grateful Dead experience. And we're going to talk about more about what that means here in just a few during the top 5 of the lineup section of the show. So stay tuned for that. I did get to go to this festival with my wife, Sarah, which is always fun. And we went with a big group of friends, which is different for us. It's either usually myself going or she and I are going. But there was about 10 to 12 of us there. So that was a real good time. Actually took the trailer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about trailer camping at festivals for this episode. So I do it both ways. I have a full tent set up, and I tend to, when I go by myself, I just take the tent, I camp in the back of my truck, I make it simple, because I really like to spend as much time at the music as possible. But when I'm going with my family or friends, and we have a big group going, I do get out. We have a 37-foot Cougar XL half-ton trailer that's a big pain in the ass to tow, but it's great once you get it there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I took my trailer to the non-electric RV, and that's a really great place. We had this killer spot right by the entrance. It was flat. Little side story, safety for campers. Neighbor pulls in next to me and is literally doing his setup thing. And I can tell he's just bought this camper. It's brand new. I don't think he had a lot of experience. So I'm sitting there, banging on my djembe a little bit before the festival. And dude goes to unhitch and made one key mistake. Forgot to put his chalk blocks behind his wheels. There was only a slight hill on that part, like just a slight hill, but enough that when he unhitched that trailer, his whole trailer jumped and thank God he still had his chains on, because that stopped it from rolling down the hill. So if you are taking a trailer to any campsite, any festival, but particularly Legend Valley, make sure that you bring some chalk blocks with you just to keep everybody safe and not lose your trailer down the hill, because there's a lot of hills on that land. The festival is actually presented by All Good Presents, and All Good Presents is the production company that puts on Dark Star Orchestra. They do some stuff with Kitchen Dwellers and a bunch of other bands, but give them a check out, because they do tend to put on a nice festival in conjunction with Legend Valley. Tickets were anywhere between $110 to $175 for a 3-day event, and that's going to be your general admission. And it depends on when you buy them. If you buy them early, they're cheaper. If you buy later tiers, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. VIP tickets were running between $250 and $300 for the event. You're going to pay a little bit more if you're doing the RV camping pass. That was somewhere between $90 and $150. And that's going to be, they have electric and non-electric RV options. But all in all, this festival is incredibly reasonable in terms of its pricing. And Legend Valley is really one of the coolest venues to go to. This is a great shot from the tree line where a lot of people like to sit, but just a really killer venue. They've actually got a couple other festivals coming up this year, including Lost Lands. We're going to talk about Lost Lands for a little bit. And then this month, Gathering of the Juggalos, which is a big deal. I hope to get to that. That would be Insane Clown Posse's festival. And I've heard it's a really, really great show. And so this venue is in Thornville, Ohio. It is quite old, actually. It was established in 1978, and it was originally known as Buckeye Lake Music Center up until about 2003. So I think it was from 86 to 2003. It was known as Buckeye Lake Music Center. And if you look up Grateful Dead stuff, you're going to find a lot of Grateful Dead concerts at Buckeye Lake Music Center. Those are all over the place. But it's located at 7585 Kendall Road. That's going to be your main entrance, and it's right off of State Route 70. It is about 2 miles from Buckeye Lake. So the Buckeye Lake thing is a little bit of a misnomer. You're not really that close to Buckeye Lake. There's no swimming or anything at this venue, so just be prepared for that. But you are fairly close to Columbus, probably about 35-40 minute drive, depending on traffic, depending on the festival. And so if Ohio is your 3 C's, with Columbus being the center, Cleveland being on the top, the top C, and Cincinnati being the bottom C, it's fairly easy to get to. So if we look for Cleveland here, it's going to run about 2.5-hour drive to 2 hours and 45-minute drives if you're coming from around the Cincinnati area. There we go. It's going to be about the same, 2.5-hour drive, depending on where you're coming from. And then you can get on the Google Maps. I'll put these links in the show notes, but, add your time from Indianapolis or anywhere else. But this is definitely a festival and a venue that's worth driving 4, 5, 6 hours to. I've done that. I've gone down to Pelham, Tennessee in the caverns and driven that far for an episode. I definitely think that this is one of those that is worth your time to get there. But plan for the drive time, plan for the gas, and I'll put the links to the maps on there. Now, what's crazy about Legend Valley is that they have had a ton of great bands, including the Grateful Dead, AC/DC, Metallica over the years. These big international acts have played there. If you head on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@musicfestivalspodcast.com, and that link will be in the show notes. I went ahead and added a drone video from Liz M's YouTube channel, and she is at OHLIZA. She had a nice little drone video that's going to be at the top of that venue playlist that backs up off the stage and then kind of shows you the whole venue from the sky view. So that is definitely something you want to check out. This venue spans about 230 acres, so it is quite large. It includes that includes the concert area, which is kind of down at the bottom of the hill, and that also includes the camping area. Now, depending on what festival you're going to, the camping area can expand all the way across the street into fields across the street, or it might be just in the actual concert venue itself. It just depends on the size of the crowd, but the whole venue at Legend Valley can actually hold an approximate capacity of between 20 and 25,000 people. So there's plenty of land there. And that number might actually be that stat might be a little bit old, because there's been a significant investment to the tune of millions and millions of dollars in the local community and in the grounds at Legend Valley by Lost Lands. Lost Lands is a great big EDM festival that has set up shop there, I think, for the next 10 years at least. We're going to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about the dinosaurs that they brought in, because Lost Lands is about dinosaurs, apparently. Dinosaurs and EDM, that sounds like a great combination. It's a larger outdoor open space. So how to prepare for this venue, right? Legend Valley is definitely like sparse on trees, right? So make sure that you're going to bring your own shade, because there's not a lot. There's a tree line as you walk in down the main road. You come in the venue entrance, you're going to go down a hill. There's a tree line to your left and right where if you get there early enough, you can set up and get some shade there. But even then, it's a little bit thin. So this is definitely a festival where you're going to want to bring your tarps, your canopies, because it gets hot during the day and you don't want to be cooking in the sun all day. That's going to make your evening a little bit rough. But it's essentially a big field. If you keep going down the main road, that's going to be your shakedown street, and you go up and look straight ahead and a little bit to your left, Past the big dinosaur, look for the big brontosaurus. There's a huge brontosaurus where his tail is pointing. There is typically the RV lot, and that's going to be your non-electric RV. It's a gravel lot. It's fairly flat. Oh, there's a slight hill. This is a very hilly venue, so there's no real super flat parts anywhere. Everything's got a little bit of a pitch to it, so just be prepared for that. But that is going to be your primary non-electric RV. It is, in my opinion, the best place for RVs to camp. They do have a powered RV line, right? And here's the challenge with that. They'll sell you a powered RV, and it's a little bit closer to the stage, but it's on a hill. It's hills both ways. It's going towards the stage, and then it's rolling up and down as you go left and right from the stage. So good luck getting your RV level there. I've seen a lot of really crazy photos of people with pop-ups and things where their RV is just pretty off kilter. So I think if you're a pop-up, you can make it work, but anything bigger than that, I would stay out of the powered RV hookup. And for smaller festivals, I don't know what it's like at the big ones, but for smaller festivals, your hookups are going to be 125 volt, 15 amps. So basically what you plug into your wall socket in your house, right? If you have a big camper like mine, you are not running 30 amp, you are not running 50 amp. So bring your generators. And if you are going to bring your RV, bring your adapter to take your 30 amp into a 20 amp so that you can plug in and at least, run a fan or run your cooler, run your fridge. The venue is actually owned by Steve and Laura Trickle. So I've only met Steve once. I've never met Laura. They purchased the venue in 1996, and it was in like some dire financial times at the time. And so these two really kind of took it under their wing, and in the last, X amount of years have built it up to what it is today. Tons of festivals, brought in Lost Lands, negotiated that contract. That was a significant investment, not only into Legend Valley, but into the surrounding community. So that money from Lost Lands has done great stuff for the venue. I've been going to this place for 20, 25 years now, and I've kind of watched it evolve over time. It's much cooler now than it used to be in terms of a comfortable facility to go see festivals and concerts at. Aside from Dark Star Jubilee, you're getting small festivals like Hookaville, one of my very favorite local festivals, but also things like Secret Dreams. That was a recent festival that happened out there that was hugely popular. Last weekend was Everwild. I actually hopefully we'll talk with a guy named Jeff, who is a vendor at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, who picked up his shop and moved it to Everwild last weekend. I want to find out how that went for him. The big one coming up this month is Gathering of the Juggalos. That is Insane Clown Posse's festival. If you talk to the staff just Google Gathering of the Juggalos, you'll see what I mean. It's kind of crazy, but if you talk to the staff at Legend, they will all tell you that is the nicest crowd that they deal with all year. The Juggalos are super cool, super chill, take care of the spot. So hats off to you guys. And then Lost Lands is obviously the big one. And Lost Lands is, let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. Lost Lands is a huge EDM festival that has invested tons and tons of money. It's estimated that this festival for Legend Valley generates about $2 million on its own annually. I don't really know what the total revenue of Legend Valley is, but you can kind of do some guesstimation on the math on that. But Lost Lands in itself has invested over $5 million into the local Thornville economy. And that's in the form of creating employment and jobs, but also renting equipment like construction equipment and things from local businesses, porta-johns, buying gravel from local vendors and whatnot, local mills. And quarries, and then even, donating money and camping equipment and all kinds of stuff to local organizations that includes New Beginnings, the Woodland Center, Boy Scouts of America, and even the high schools, Lakewood high schools. I've even heard from some of the locals I've talked to, hey, Marty, how you doing, buddy? That they've put money into the police and fire units, emergency services, to make sure that they have what they need. So this is really interesting when you look at what these festivals are doing. Like, it's a big economic influx into the area to make it work. So definitely give that a shout out and check out Lost Lands if you get a chance. I believe that tickets might be sold out. It's coming up September, I believe 20th through the 22nd. It's going to be at Legend Valley. Most of these names, I'm not super up on EDM, so most of these names I do not know. But this is definitely a bucket list festival that I have to get to. I have a buddy named Tony who goes every year, and he says it's just a wild experience. So give that a look. So at Dark Star Jubilee, we saw a lot of bands. I think it's a super great festival, but I can only pick five. So we're going to do Neighbor Nate's top five of the lineup. Yeah, see, there's my applause. People are applauding for me. That's right. All right. So top five of the lineup. Keller Williams, or well, clearly let's start at the top with what we need to. Dark Star Orchestra, right? I do not have video of Dark Star Orchestra to show, but they played for 3 nights. And what I love about Dark Star Orchestra is that when they say creating the Grateful Dead experience, they literally will play verbatim shows from different eras of the band, different concerts. I've heard them do a few. I heard them do Cornell once, which was great. But they had 3 different eras of the band across the nights. And man, when they get into it, if you follow the Grateful Dead, they had ups and downs. There were drug problems. There were all kinds of stuff. People got sick. They changed band members. And so from era to era, they sounded slightly different. They did different things. And Dark Star really captures that, I think, better than any Grateful Dead cover band out there. So definitely give them a look. They were definitely my top pick. I really enjoyed their shows. Another one that I thought was fantastic is Keller Williams' Grateful Gospel. Now, I'm not playing the audio on these videos because I do want to be respectful of copyright laws, and YouTube won't let me publish it anyway. So eventually, maybe I'll get the certifications to use the rights to play some tunes. But if you have not had a chance to see Keller Williams, he's incredibly talented musician, and he with the Grateful Gospel ensemble just blew the roof off the place. Now you're kind of getting to see a little bit of what the venue looks like and where we're dancing. So this is the back of the stage. There's our Brontosaurus, that big dinosaur that we're talking about right there. Plenty of room at this. You can bring there's gravel down by the stage. That line of tents that you're seeing up by the tree line, those are going to be your product vendors. The food vendors are down by the stage. Porta Johns are very close to the stage, and the backstage area is across there. So really a very comfortable venue. We are people that like to kind of hang in the back. I'll walk up front, but I always set up shop in the back. There's Keller doing his thing on his bass. The audio on this was incredible. But it's a very comfortable venue to see shows at, so you can get along just fine. And if you get a chance to see Keller Grateful Gospel, man, they were out of this world. Another person who played that I'm a huge fan of is Holly Bowling. So Holly rose to fame in the last couple years because she's a huge Fish head, and she's also a classically trained pianist who's incredibly talented. And she actually listened to some Fish jams and transcribed them, and then started going and performing these Fish jams on piano. This was not a Fish jam per se. She was just doing her thing, but she gets there at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, had a hellish day of travel, and sat down, told everybody, hey, I'm really glad to be here. It's been a really long day. Threw up her coat, hit the keys, and blew the freaking roof off the place at 1:30 in the morning. So hats off to Holly Bowling. Definitely adds a layer of excitement to wherever she plays. And she's also one of my favorite people to see with Green Sky Bluegrass. So she will play with Green Sky Bluegrass probably about 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a year at various different festivals. I'm hoping that maybe she joins the band full-time someday. We'll see if that actually happens. But adding that layer of keys, especially her keys, her talent on top of Green Sky Bluegrass, your typical string bluegrass, although they do their own thing on bluegrass. It's just a fantastic experience. So they were definitely in the top of that. Another one that I thought was fantastic was Daniel Donato's Cosmic Country. Unfortunately, I didn't get video of that one either. But Donato is interesting, right? So he is a Telecaster player by heart. They do country, but it's his own version of cosmic country, if you will, where they make it kind of trippy, and it sounds very country, but it's got a whole bunch of jam elements in it. It's very similar to Green Sky Bluegrass, where it's bluegrass, but it's their own flavor of bluegrass, right? And so everybody wants to play with Daniel these days. He's opening up for a lot of people. He's sitting in with a lot of people. They're doing their own thing. One of if you want to know more about Daniel Donato, he's an interesting dude. Listen to Inside the Musician's Brain. This is Chris Pandolfi's podcast. Chris is the banjo player for the infamous String Dusters. Does a great podcast, and this is produced by Osiris Media. So Osiris has all kinds of different great musical podcasts of bluegrass and jam bands and everything else. But episode 40, I believe, let me look at this. Yep, episode 40 is Daniel Donato. This dude is really smart, right? So not only is he a great musician, but when you hear him talk, he's incredibly well read. If I ever get to interview Daniel, and Daniel, if you're listening, I'd love to interview you. I want to find out about his background, like what his education is, because the dude is just book smart as they come, and very philosophical and very cosmic, right? Like kind of out there. Really entertaining episode. Check out Chris Pandolfi's podcast, Inside the Musician Brain, and listen to episode 40 to learn more about Daniel and his cosmic take on everything, which is super cool. So overall festival review of Dark Star Jubilee 2024, I was glad I went. I thought the lineup was excellent. You couldn't beat it. So many great bands in one place. Honorable mentions, they didn't make the top 5, but Sam Grisman Project was there as well. Melvin Seals is playing with JBG, I think it was. They were great shows, but just a killer lineup for this festival. The Deadheads are super cool, all friendly people, big party. Clearly, festivals are big parties, but it wasn't over the top. Nobody got out of hand. There wasn't crazy EDM blaring, halfway across the camp or anything like that. It is a kid-friendly festival. I would say Dark Star Jubilee is a kid-friendly festival. However, the venue is not super crazy kid-friendly in that there's not a lot to do. In fact, there's nothing to do. There's no place to swim. There's no lakes. So if you want entertainment between sets, you got to bring it. So bring your cornhole boards, bring your can jam, bring canned beer, no glass, anything like that. But bring ways to entertain yourself before the music and then in between the music when you don't want to see it. There is a nice variety of food and product vendors at this particular festival, and the way they had them arranged made a lot of sense with all the product vendors up on the hill and then the food down by the stage. That was super convenient. And the VIP area was packed because during this festival it was fairly warm, and there was some rain, and so VIP was covered and it was right down by the stage, and you could bring your chair and set up and be out of the elements there. So if that's what you're looking for, if you want to stay covered and dry during your summer festivals, VIP options at Dark Star Jubilee was really, really probably worth it, especially because it wasn't a huge incremental cost. The lighting and the sound at Legend Valley is just absolutely top notch. In fact, arguably probably one of the best concert systems in the country. So definitely be prepared for that. And they bring their own stuff too, but really, really good stuff. And what's nice about Legend Valley, if you get there on the right month, the moon actually rises behind the stage, right? So you get the full lighting effect, but then you see the moon coming up right behind the stage, and you can see through the back of the stage, and it's very picturesque with, the rolling Ohio hills behind the stage. So just a really delightful evening, for those people that just enjoy being outside and seeing outside music. The venue and the campground lighting is also cool. So they do a lot of like uplighting in the trees that makes it really pretty, but then all the paths are also well lit and well marked. So getting around, this is a festival that you can go to, a venue you can go to, and you don't need to necessarily carry a flashlight to get back to your camp. You can see everything perfectly fine, but it's not overly bright that you can't go to sleep. There are dinosaurs everywhere. This is part of the Lost Lands influx. So that's kind of fun to see. I'll throw some pictures up on the YouTube's channel and on the blog post that'll go with this. But they've got a T-Rex, they've got Allosaurus, they've got the big Brachiosaurus or Brontosaurus, whatever. And these are all, some of them move. They don't move for any festivals, I don't think, other than Lost Lands, but those are fun to look at. This venue is incredibly easy to get in and out of. So you have your main road where that's going to be your entrance. If you're doing VIP camping, tent camping, you're going to go around that side road that you'll see on the map, and that's going to take you back to that entrance. And I will say that the VIP tent camping area is a little bit hilly for my taste. So I don't know how you're getting a tent on a flat down there, but it's in a field. It's it's a nice field, but again, no shade, and you're going to be on a hill, so just be prepared for that. But what's nice about Legend Valley too, there's no security overkill. You feel safe when you're there. There's security reminding you don't bring in bottles, don't bring in drones, don't bring in firearms, firecrackers, weapons of any kind. They're pretty good about that. Outside of that, they leave you alone, right? There's no dogs, there's no cop cars or state troopers parked up by the entrance. They trust people to kind of manage themselves, and for the most part, people do. I've been going to Legend for a number of years, at least maybe 2 decades, almost 2 decades now. I've never seen any incidents at this festival. They handle their stuff pretty good. Friendly and helpful staff. Everybody on staff, a lot of folks have been there for years, but they do a nice job on that. So, get to know them. They're happy to answer your questions, and they're fairly relaxed and polite folks. You can leave the grounds, right? So if you're at the festival, you forget something, you can head out, you can leave the grounds, you can take your car, you might have to ask somebody. But it's fairly easy to get in and out, and there are gas stations within walkable distance of the festival grounds. So if you forget the toothbrush, or you need some more beer, or what have you, you can literally walk down out the entrance. There's a convenience store and gas station across the street, and now there's one down to the right as well. So definitely, it's a nice convenience to have. Cons of this venue. Bring your own campsite entertainment. There's really nothing else to do. There's no playgrounds, no basketball courts. You go to like Nelson Ledges Quarry Park up in the northern part of Ohio, all kinds of stuff to do. Cliff jumping, swimming, basketball, playgrounds, you name it, right? Much more interesting wooded campgrounds to walk around. Not much to do at Legend. Great. You can the advantage is you can see the concert from anywhere in the venue, but bring some other entertainment. When you're leaving, watch for state troopers on State Route 70. They're going to be camped there. They're going to be waiting for folks to go tearing out of that place. So just make sure you don't get picked up, because that's a terrible way to end your festival weekend. You're going to be limited on campfires at most festivals at this venue. And they do that for a reason. The bigger festivals, they don't want people tripping over fires and catching stuff on fire. Particularly this year, it's been a drought, so that's sketchy. But if you go to smaller festivals like a Hookaville or something, most people will have fires. They tell you to bring your own ring, and they want you to bring a ring that keeps it up off the ground, if at all possible. So don't just bring like your normal tire ring and put it on the ground so you don't burn a spot in their field or whatever. Bring, your little solo stove or something like that. And the only other con that I see is, what the fuck happened to the drum circles, right? This was a Grateful Dead festival. And back in the day, after the festival was over, after the music ended for the night, the drum circle would immediately pick up, whether it was down by the stage or somewhere in the camp. There would be some type of communal fire, and you'd have a whole bunch of people bring in djembes and bongos and all kinds of stuff down, and people would be dancing and spinning poi and fire. And it was a really cool time. It was so much fun. And that has all but evaporated from the most recent festivals I've been to, with this one being included. And I was incredibly surprised that at a Grateful Dead focused festival, there were not drum circles happening. So Steve Trickle, if you're listening to this show, let's do something to bring the drum circles back. Hashtag bring drum circles back to festivals, whatever that is. I'm a fan. All in all, though, I'm going to give this festival a rating of 8.5 out of 10. I wanted to give it a 9.5 out of 10. The lineup, the way it was run was just fantastic. But again, the venue just doesn't have a lot of other things to do to keep you occupied if you want to take a break from the music, or if you have bands you're not interested in. So for that reason, I am going to rate it 8.5 out of 10. But with that said, still worth the trip. I would drive 3-4 hours to go to Dark Star Jubilee again. Luckily, I live in Columbus, so I've got like 35-40 minutes. But definitely worth it for you to make the trip. Tune in next week. We're going to be covering Spring Hookaville. So this is a little bit late on the gun, but this is going to be at the same venue, Legend Valley. It'll be a shorter episode. Reason when I want to show you this is it's a much smaller festival, right? So we're going to do a little bit of a walking tour of the venue. You'll get to see the camp lot, but that's going to be next week, Spring Hookaville. It was the 30th anniversary of that particular music festival, so I'm excited to show you guys some of that. And again, I am Neighbor Nate. I am at Neighbor Nate Fest. That's an 8 on the Instagrams. If you like what you're hearing, go ahead and follow me there to get updates on the show. And I hope to be your neighbor soon at the next festival. Cheers.